You're on an airplane, it starts crashing. The oxygen masks drop from the ceiling. And the instructions are always the same. Put on your own mask first before helping someone else. I used to think that having higher standards, having clear boundaries, made me difficult. Then I realized something. The people who called me difficult benefited from me having lower standards and from me having no boundaries. The most selfish thing you can do is pretending that you're fine even though you're not. Because when you're running on empty, your work suffers, your relationship suffers, and the people around you suffer. Putting yourself first isn't selfish. It's the only way you can actually show up towards the things that matter. How are you gonna help someone putting on their oxygen mask if you're barely breathing yourself? People don't want the best version of you. They want the version of you that suits them the best. And to give a concrete example for this, my parents, I love them. They're amazing, but when it comes to parents or when it comes to good friends, they always want the version of you that suits them the best within their thinking, within their scope of seeing what's possible. So when I went to theater school, the plan was I finish my degree, I become a theater teacher, I get a stable job, and in that way I had safety and security. The moment I dropped out of school, that line of safety and security, it fell away because I was like, let's go into sales, fully commission based so I can work remote and follow my dream to live everywhere in the world, like right now in Bali. But to my parents, that was misaligned within their scope of thinking because their core values are more around safety, security, stability, and me going into a sales job with commission based only means that I had no safety, no security to build on. So of course they thought it was a bad idea. They thought, is that really happening? Is that really something you should do? Or when I started investing in the stock market when I was 16 years old, they thought investing was gambling. And they wanted the best for me based on their scope of thinking. But in the end, I made money from investing in the stock market because that's what I wanted to do within my scope of thinking and the mistakes that I made along the way. You can call it selfish, but if I would have been selflessness, I would have listened to my parents and I wouldn't make that money from the stock market. Or I wouldn't even be sitting here in Bali right now. Because if I haven't started that sales job, I did not build the core skill sets that I needed to build to create the foundation of what I have right now. And that is living and working remote across the globe, from Thailand to Bali to Morocco, while running my own companies, my AI agency and my marketing agency with 2 different business partners. And I don't blame them for anything because they wanted the version of me that suited them the best within their scope of thinking. Now that they see me succeed because I choose myself, I was selfish, they even came and visit me in Bali here. They tell me that they're proud of why, because I listened to myself and put up my own standards, put up my own dreams. You don't create your own dreams by listening to other people. It's about creating that type of self-leadership to create the life that you actually want to live. And personally, I have 3 rules that I try to apply within my own life to achieve my own goals and live my own life. A life that's actually mine. One of them is standards. What's the standard you hold yourself up to? And again, people might call you difficult for this. If you have a certain standard that you don't want to lower, then it's not your problem, it's their problem. Because the moment you have standards that are higher, your standards work as an exact mirror to the people who have lower standards. Because you show them what's also possible from the moment you have higher standards. To give a concrete example, within my businesses, I like it when things go fast. So one of my standards is to have the work done in at least like 2 to 3 days. And then sometimes my business partner can call me difficult for that because I want things to go quicker. But I also know money moves with speed. So the faster we do things to a higher standard and to a higher degree, the better work we deliver and the happier the client will be. The other rule that I try to apply, rule number 2, is boundaries. Know what your boundaries are. If people push me to drink and I don't drink, then they're not the right people and they don't respect my boundaries. And when someone crosses your boundary and you don't communicate it, then it suddenly becomes your problem. But by having clear boundaries of what you need, your personal needs, needs to achieve your own goals and go to the next level, that's what you need to live by. It's not what you want to live by even, it's what you need to live by. Because having those boundaries, even if it's like working out 6 days a week, going to run clubs, whatever, those are your boundaries, and those boundaries work as a safety net, work as a borderline to create the right behaviors that you need to have to become the person you need to be to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. And rule number 3, when is something relevant to you? If you want to build something, if you want to create something, then one lesson, everyone knows it better and everyone wants to give you advice. But listen to the people that have done what you want. For example, the things that I say might not be relevant to you because I'm not a baller as millionaire yet. But that is something I'm working towards, so my advice might become relevant to you the moment I start achieving that. The big caveat is that knowing who to listen to works within levels. So you might have people that function at level 10 and you function at level 5. Then the people who are at level 6 or 7, they still can have relevant advice to you because they're a couple of steps ahead. So when I started out in sales and I had no calls or no experience yet, everyone who had a certain type of experience had something relevant to say to me because they had more experience than I did. But the moment I had more calls, closed more deals, done more than them, I operate at a different level. So why should I listen to them? Because their advice became irrelevant. Even though people have the best intentions by giving you advice, not all advice is created equally. Even if you look at like an Alex Ramosi or Stephen Bartlett or Chris Williamson, they started in a different period of time and they're at level 10 right now, basically. So if you listen to what they're doing right now, it might be not as relevant to you of where you are in your business. So I was giving a sales training to a company, and when I was giving that sales training, someone asked me, yeah, but how do you get your closing rate? And then I first asked them, yeah, but do you even have stable funnel? Do you even have stable processes within your company? Because then that should be the first step before you're trying to optimize your closing rate. If you don't even know where your leads are coming from, and if it's unstable as you can think of, then optimizing for a closing rate is not relevant because you're not there yet. Then you're at level 4 instead of level 6. But someone else knew their closing rate, had set processes of where their leads came from, and because of that, it was relevant to them, the thing that I had to say about when to increase your prices connected to a certain closing rate. So that was relevant advice to one girl that I gave the sales training to within that community, but not relevant to some other girl that heard the same advice, but it just was not as relevant for her as it was for the girl that knew all her statistics and had the backend more optimized. All of this might sound a bit harsh. Okay, so you should not listen to certain people, you should do your own thing, you should be selfish within the boundaries that you set, within the goals that you set, within the standards that you have. But why is this relevant? This is relevant if you actually want to be of value towards the people around you and the people that you love. Because the moment you start building yourself up with higher standards, you drag the people up. A group is only as good as its leader. I'd rather follow a group with 100 sheep led by a lion than follow a group of 100 lions led by a sheep, because the sheep will not make the same kind of decisions as the lions will. Not as good group with a fantastic leader can get magnificent results, and a very good group with a shitty leader can get shitty results, because the leader decides the destination of where people are going to. The goal of a leader is nothing more than bring a group, a project, or a dream from point A to point B. And that all starts with self-leadership. And self-leadership starts with being selfish, by having your own stuff together, by being able to breathe and have your own oxygen mask on. And that all comes down to having high standards, to listen to the people that are relevant for you to listen to, and having clear boundaries of the things that you do accept and the things that you don't accept. So if you really want to be of value to people, and if the things that you do and say, you really want them to make sense for people, then it's necessary to have your own shit together, because then you actually have a good foundation to build from, and you can actually help the people go to the next level based on your standards, values, and everything that you've created so far. Me, when I started out as a sales rep, my advice was less relevant. Me starting out on YouTube with my first couple of videos, my advice was less relevant. But if I give someone advice on how to create a video now, I've done 100 of them. I've done a couple of podcasts, like almost 30. So I do have knowledge about that based on the experiences that I've gained. But I needed to start from somewhere. And while making more videos, my standards increased, my boundaries increased, and also the people that I listen to varied. because now I listen to someone who has advice that's relevant for me with the things that I want to achieve, based on the self-leadership that I want to take. And I say I a lot, and that sounds selfish, but it's selflessness. Because when you have your own shit together, you can actually help people go to the next level. You cannot pour from an empty cup. That's the whole point. If you barely have water in your cup and you're trying to give, then there's no point to it because you'll run on empty. But if you have a full cup, because you have your own stuff together, because you've been selfish to fix your own situation first, then the things that I'm able to do with my full cup are way more relevant and is way more valuable than if I would pour from an empty cup. So the main message and the main learning that I've been thinking about most is just put in your own oxygen mask on first before trying to save others, before trying to build on a foundation that's not rock solid. Because a wobbly foundation is not a good place to build a house on. It's as if you're trying to play an infinite game with finite rules. What that means is an infinite game, the goal of the game is to keep on going. And a finite game is a game with set rules, a set outcome, a set team, and a set time frame. You can have 10k as a goal, but it's a finite game. You can also say, I want to build the best company possible for as long as possible and just keep on playing the game for the love of the game. It's a total different mindset and a total different structure to operate from. So the question you can ask yourself is, how selfish are you at the moment, and how did that serve you? But also, how did that serve the people around you by being selfish, so to say? And what game are you playing? Are you playing a finite game with set rules and a set outcome within a set time frame? Or are you playing an infinite game as a leader with as goal to keep on playing the game? That's it. So if you like this video, of course, subscribe to the channel to follow my entire journey as a nomad entrepreneur while traveling the world, building my companies and documenting everything. And if you want to know all the business stuff that I talk about with the things that I implement for my clients, you can click right here on this business channel. And if you like this video, then I'm 100% certain that you love this video right here as well. Really, click on it. And as always, visionaries, take action, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.